Hey, good morning, evening, night, everyone. This is March 22, 2022, and this is our bi-weekly SIG release meeting. My name is Adolfo Garcia, and I'm going to be your host today. Remember that this meeting is governed by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct, which boils down to be awesome to each other. And remember that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the public internet. So be mindful of what you say and do. And with that, I'd like to start by welcoming any new members or people who haven't been here before who want to say hello. Okay. So, and it's not required, but if you want to say hi at any time, we're very happy to have you here. We have a couple of topics on the agenda today, but I would like to start by giving the subproject updates. Anyone would like to give an update or release engineering? Otherwise, I can take it. Okay, so I can give an update. So there have been two main lines of work during last week, I think, unless I am missing someone. So work on bumping all of the images to Go 1 2018, which was released last week, I believe, has been going on. I don't have at hand all of the details about that effort because I haven't been taking part on it. But things are rolling, and we can maybe link some of the issues on the agenda later today. And the other one is we were trying to get we already got the pull request to sign images merged into the image promoter, but we didn't have enough contributors to make the update of the promoter required. We didn't have enough contributors to get all of the things needed to get the new image of the promoter promoted to start running it. So the last patch release, the last pre-release that we're going to be talking in a little bit, couldn't be signed, but hopefully we'll get a test going on before the first 124 beta to ensure that signatures are working, and but we'll be announcing it probably in the upcoming days. So those are the two main announcements from our side from release engineering. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything to it or any questions. Okay, so moving up to the next one, James, would you like to give an update on the new release?
Sure. So we are in week 11. We have 28 days, exactly 4 weeks left until our scheduled release date, which is a terrifying prospect. We have a couple of big things coming up. We have code freeze coming in 1 week, which is 1 a.m. UTC, Wednesday the 30th, which is 6 p.m. PDT, Tuesday the 29th. We're going to ship the code freezes coming email probably today. I'm talking with Grace about it. I think we missed this one because we couldn't find it in the handbook, and we just missed it. So we are going to probably add that to the handbook. And the mid-cycle retro is tomorrow, 23rd of March at 1700 UTC. So please do come along if you're interested in giving opinions about how the release is running. And then in terms of everything else, Navarone cut the 124 Alpha 4 release today. We were a little bit worried because there was a release blocker issue kind of loitering around for the past week or so, like a test failure. but that seems to have fixed itself miraculously just in time for needing to cut Alpha 4, which was pretty convenient. We're starting to think about succession for 125. Joseph has been doing an excellent job chasing people up for that, and I need to review some of the suggestions there, but that's looking good. In general, I think we're doing okay. We have, in our most recent release update, we had a couple of things go give a red status, but I think that's kind of normal for this stage of the release. There's nothing making me super worried, if you see what I mean. So I think we're doing okay. Yeah. Joseph, I don't know if you had anything to add that I've missed.
Awesome. So I'm looking forward to the retrospective, and for those not in the loop, the release retrospective is the inner look at the release as we go on, and where you can voice your opinions about the release process, dump your comments, hear what others think in there, and you're welcome to join as well. And also, I would like to give a shout out to Eddie and to Jim, who were looking into the failure yesterday to make it go away so that we could cut the pre-release today. Thank you for that.
And especially Jordan, who somehow got there 3 hours before we did. So yeah. Jordan's amazing.
Awesome. So any questions for the release lead before we move on to open discussions? Okay. All right. So first order of the day, Leo, or well, I'd say most orders of the day are from Leo. So go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Yeah. So the first one is I think quite small. I was wondering about like a second handbook for CI Signal, and maybe also for the other teams. So for CI Signal, it's like quite a long, extensive handbook, and I was thinking if somebody is like interested in a role and is browsing this gigantic 20 pages handbook, maybe this is not the best way to show what CI Signal is doing. So I was thinking about like a pitch deck or something, like a one-pager or something like this, which might be nice to just reference if you're interested in the role. You can check this out and then like link like the details. So yeah, just like open discussion, because this is like kind of a change, maybe a bit. So I was just wanted to bring this up. What is everybody thinking about that?
Eddie?
So my message to y'all last week about like an onboarding video or guide, there's more context behind that ask. So we had just been in a Kubernetes leads meeting, and the reliability bar thing had come up, and we had been talking about it is really hard to get onboarded. Like there are many SIG chairs and tech leads who still don't understand how Prow and Test Grid and where all of those configs and what all of those jobs are doing. Like the job that we fixed yesterday, like that was built years ago, and I have no idea if it's still valid, right? It's been handed off from lead to lead to lead. So it's very clear that we need to like audit that and take a look at it. And the problem is we have so much knowledge with a few individuals on how all this works that it's not anywhere centralized, and there's no onboarding for anyone. So my ask was, it's like, oh, like CI Signal might have resources to serve the broader community. So it wasn't just scoped to the CI Signal team, but I think I talked to Jordan about this a few times, and Jordan's on board of doing more recordings and screencasts. I'm sure you all have seen his flake finding video that is very well done. So yeah, just want to throw all that out there. I think the whole project needs to put an effort behind this.
Yeah. This is like another topic that we are working on right now, recording like some short clips, and then we can also link to that on the one pager. So, but I didn't bring this up because it's already common sense. Everybody is agreeing that we want to have clips. So yeah, on the roadmap for 1.24.
Yeah,
Hey,
and
I was going to make just one suggestion. I mean, one thing that I remember a few years back that was really well done was I remember Daniel Mangum, and I forgot the other gent who was the lead, but they would do like these deep dives into CI signal. So I would, if I was you, I would just take the position of what's kind of needed. Yeah, Robert. Yes, exactly. Is just think about that succession. I know you're like in this like finite moment of like, hey, I'm doing this release and then that's it. And then I'm moving on. But I think the most impactful thing that you could do is just leave breadcrumbs of things for that next lead. So maybe they leave that same foundation. And I think collectively, I think we're all kind of coming to this where we got to think of that succession engineering. And a lot of times we do it in our roles at work, but we kind of need to kind of put a real emphasis because we're at this different life cycle of where Kubernetes is at. So if there's any guidance I could give you, it would probably be that. And I know there's only like, a month left, but whatever you could give is really valuable. Sometimes the fastest way to do it is just record it, and just get it there and leave a good handout for the next lead.
Yeah, maybe there's also like the option to have like a transition period, because in the last cycle there was basically like the cutoff, and then the next one takes basically the charge, and then like everybody else is kind of leaving. Yeah, so maybe this would also be something to think about, even if we have like the period between release cycles, right? So between 1.24 and 1.25 there will be probably for a couple of weeks not so much happening. So
I think if you could do is it's kind of like what currently Ray and Jeremy are doing for James and myself is they have stayed involved with us, and we still reach out to them and talk with them. So make yourself available. I mean, I think a lot of times don't get yourself and then if they tell you, hey, you're crowding me, then that's another thing. But I would just say make yourself available.
Yeah, the requirement to have on the release team people who have previously served on the same role is supposed to account a little bit for those for that transition effort, but it may be that some roles have become so complex over the years that they may require a specific transition period. So would be a good topic to discuss on the retrospective. And yeah, so to give more context on the Flake Finders video, at one point it was supposed to be a recurring show, and it was going to be awesome because it would have really, so the main point of that was to give CI signal members the muscle to do their roles, but at the same time it was supposed to give the community as a whole a way to look into the flaking. But we only had like 2 episodes, I think. It was too bad that got canceled. But yeah, good points. And
good
also,
shows like
okay, yeah, go ahead.
Good shows like that always get canceled way before their time. It's so true.
Yeah, I've been getting also at some point we recorded a video of what we were doing, and it's somewhere lost in my personal YouTube account, and people from the new release teams still find them and keep finding it useful, even though what is recorded in there, it's no longer the current practice. So I think this speaks a lot of 2 things. One, the way people like to consume information, and also possibly the state of the documentation. I think that the point Leo is raising points more to a complexity of the document more than lacking of information. So maybe we need to design an entry point document that serves better to newcomers.
Yeah. So basically, if you read all 20 or roughly 20 pages, you have a good idea, but nobody is doing that. So you only pick like a few sections. Maybe this is important now, this is important then, but it's hard to get an overview basically about everything. So yeah.
There has been some feedback in release retros where people have said have expressed the sentiment as well, and they've said that in some cases it's like videos have been pitched as well as like slide decks too, as just kind of something that's more accessible. I agree and 100% agree with you that everyone learns in a different way, and kind of having those different contexts too, like high touch, low touch, something that might be like a bunch of slides, kind of giving insight into. Once you want to go deeper, you can, you can take a look at the markdown and some of those things within the role that might be helpful, but absolutely agree. I'd say more is better. But it is just kind of a problem of time and people having the space in which to create the stuff. Because in most cases, they just have the time to help out with the job and not so much the documentation, at least from what I've seen. But definitely happy to help out any way that I can more on that effort, because I do keep kind of hearing that sentiment quite a bit throughout the community.
So I remember hearing about this in other release retros as well. There's always low points in the release. Each team has their own like slow weeks, I guess. This might be a good time. I know it might take multiple efforts in multiple releases if folks are kind of new to the release team, but that might be a good time period to just to work on what didn't work for me in terms of being a new release team member, and also a release team vets could help solve that with either like a slide deck or any kind of short videos. Like the video that Adolfo made, I remember watching those as well, and it was more about like, even if it's not current, it's still super helpful just knowing what the overall process and overview of cutting release notes. Yeah, so maybe we should start looking at those slow weeks or those slow weeks to start working on, like even a simple slide deck. Just
right for the next ones. All right, and any other comments or questions around the topic?
At some point in time, I do think that we should try to emulate what we see on airlines too. You're like, okay, in the event of an air release, we need to, or water release, we need to do. Yeah, exactly. Your exits are here. Your pull requests are right there. Notifications probably up there.
That would be super cool.
Leonard, do you feel like you have a solid action from that? Do you think it's okay? I realize I derailed your topic a bit with the video. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean, we've got plenty of feedback. I think like the overall direction is everybody agrees this is something that would be helpful, and yeah, that's good.
Thanks, Leo, for raising that. All right, so next topic, increasing the reliability bar. Who would like to take in?
Maybe I can quickly just an introduction, then hand over to the ones that actually created the cap. So there's been a discussion. Maybe you also joined the community call, I think last week or the week before. There was basically just a discussion about how we can increase like Kubernetes reliability in general. And there's a lot of like thought went into this process, and milestones have been created and so on. And maybe part of the overall effort will be handed over, or might be that SIG Release will be responsible for that. So this is just basically to get this discussion over here in this meeting. And because this is like a bigger project or bigger topic in general, this will likely take like more than just one topic, one call, but just to bring this up.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, thanks, Leo. I think one of the things that we wanted to present, or Divan in particular wanted to present, was that in Red Hat they came up with like this tool called CP, which is pretty interesting and pretty powerful in terms of like tracking what is happening in CI in general. So I think we wanted to present that to you and get your thoughts, like if how we could potentially engage together to collaborate on that potentially. So Devan, do you want to present something?
Yeah, sure. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I will attempt a screen share, I guess. I don't know if that's gonna happen or not.
I think I have to make you co-host.
Oh, okay. It's not strictly required if it's complicated.
No, not at all.
Okay. Just gonna try.
Okay, try it now.
Sorry, bear with me. I'm just getting a whiteboard option. I apologize. I'm on Linux and I don't use Zoom very often, so I don't really know what I'm getting here. Yeah, it's just giving me an option for whiteboard. I'm sorry. Just want me to just talk through it. The link is over in the chat if you'd like to pull it up yourselves. I think there is actually breakage right now, which is extremely unfortunate. Right. So I'm leading a team at Red Hat that's doing a lot of things that sound very similar to what to this topic. Anyhow, we try to improve the reliability of OpenShift by examining our CI signals. So just thousands of prow jobs in test grid and oh, great, thank you. So SIPI sort of evolved because we have such a mass amount of data that it was very hard to understand trends over time when you're just looking at those test grids. And SIPI's evolved for probably a few years now, but it's a tool that's scraping test grid and then just analyzing the trends across jobs, across sort of variants, which are just keywords you can pull out of job names. You'll see them there for serial and upgrade and kubeadm. And then it'll just give you detail on jobs that are the most regressed in the last week versus the previous week, as well as the last 2 days versus the previous week. And theoretically, those boxes at the bottom do the same for individual tests. That was fine this morning. I don't know what's happened in the last 20 minutes, but we'll look into that shortly. So it's just it's a tool that's really helped us a lot to isolate problems and spot them in ways that we couldn't just staring at test grid. And also at scale, you can't focus so much on an individual job failure, an individual test failure. We really have to prioritize what we're going to go after, because it's such a sea of small things that can go wrong with a cloud provider and just that sort of thing. So we needed something to help us build trends. And I guess I don't know the history of it, but there has been an instance of this running against Cube's test grid, and that was up for some time and then broke. But we've repaired that, and we stood up a new instance just for what you're looking at now. And we wanted to see if this would be useful, and also to offer to host and maintain it, because my team does the development of the tool, and it's I don't want to get into another situation where we broke the Cube instance without realizing it. It just helps us a little bit if it's deployed alongside our normal instance. But the code is open. Contributions easy to add from GitHub. And I guess that's the basic overview. You can click through to jobs and tests as you just did a minute ago, and get a good analysis for specific things as well. It's not just the overview. You can go quite a bit further with it. And we have a lot of plans for it to help improve. But I guess that's the general thing that we wanted to present and see what folks thought.
So with all projects and the suggestions that we've had, I mean, it's sure helpful, but what about so you would be running the instance side by side with the ones you're already maintaining? Yes.
Well, that's I guess up for debate, but that would be my pitch. It would just make it a little simpler it is up and running. So, it's just, we would keep it up and running, but it doesn't have to. It certainly could be run externally, but we did want to volunteer to take the hit on maintaining it and keeping it up for the group.
So could you guide me through some of the features where I can click and maybe we can see?
Sure. So I mean, with the view that's up right now, you can see that you can see the trend for day by day, the number of jobs that passed and failed and how that's flowing over time. So clearly something's not 100% reliable with this particular job. And down below, you've got a selection of the tests that are causing the problems. And with the red button below that graph, you can change the test that you're examining to add others or remove some that you're not interested in and get them added to the graph. I really wish our test page was working right now. Actually, if it's helpful, I could put up the OpenShift one, which I believe is healthy. So that's one of the options. Sorry.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, so you said you're scraping the TestGrid API. This is where I think about this often, right? Because TestGrid, the back end is open source still, but the front end isn't. Has anyone heard progress on if that's being made open source? Right, because we have such a heavy reliance on this tool that we can't make any changes to. And I've heard so many change requests for TestGrid and submitted some myself over the years. And I'll poke some people and get an update. But do you see this as being a replacement for the TestGrid UI?
Well, no, we've always thought of it as a tool to help you view the trends in TestGrid. If I'm honest, my team looks at this far more than we look at TestGrid. So I probably can see where you're thinking there. There's sort of a middleman issue there in terms of I haven't really given that much thought. This is typically the tool we use over TestGrid, but we are scraping TestGrid for the data within it. So never really thought of it as a replacement, no. But
are you scraping TestGrid or are you scraping the underlying data in GCS?
We're scraping the TestGrid API.
Oh, you're scraping. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were scraping the or loading data from the GCS directly. Okay.
No.
So, and what are you all proposing to SIG Release to do here? So what would be the link?
I guess we're proposing, we're just asking the question, would you like us to keep an instance of this up and running? And we just wanted to make everyone aware that the tool was out there and can be contributed to if anybody needs to, and sort of show how it can help debug and find issues. I'm going to add just a message to chat, which is the OpenShift instance, which would let you see what it can do with tests. I don't know why that's acting weird right now, but you'll see the tests and you can click through to test reports as well and see sort of what architectures or variants that they're struggling on and day by day.
Let me share it again.
Yeah, I guess the main question is like whether you perceive it as something that like would be useful for CI signal in particular for tracking where we are and where we are regressing, where we are improving, where we are currently, and so on. And if it would be, do you see any particular things that are impossible to do now but would be substantially useful for you?
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would go ahead. Sorry.
No, sorry. I just wanted to say that it doesn't. The answer doesn't have to come now. It's just something that you probably would need to spend a little bit of that time thinking about and discussing and whatever. And
okay. Yeah. I mean, just initial reaction. We definitely have found it extremely useful because I mean, I can look at TestGrid and I cannot tell how a particular tester job is trending over time very easily, or sort of how often problems occur across jobs for the same test. So yeah, it's definitely something that has helped us improve our CI signal, and we use it dozens of times a day to trace down problems and file bugs and link developers or engineers to the evidence for the problems. And like I say, I notice a lot of what we're struggling with or trying to accomplish is very similar to that KEP that was linked here.
Have you seen the triage tool that we use for finding flakes over time?
I have not.
Could someone link that? I always lose the link for it. So this tool uses the data from ProwJobs loaded into BigQuery and lets us, I feel like those are solving more similar problems than when I'm comparing this to TestGrid itself.
Do you have to link them? I'm
on my other laptop right now. I don't have the link. I always lose this dang link. It's like Kate's Triage.
Triage Party or?
No. Oh, here it is. This one. I got it. It's just a static HTML page in a bucket.
Okay.
So this is what this kind of strikes me as closer to without having spent any time looking at SIPI yet.
No, I think the purpose for this one is a little bit different. This one is more for like, if you know what you are looking for, particular test or something, then you can track better what was happening with that and so on. I think the CP is more for like, give me the overall shape of our CI. So I personally perceive it more as like complementary to CP than like a replacement or.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Leo or others who have been on the CI Signal team, do you have any thoughts about it, if it would make your lives easier?
Yeah, so I have only briefly looked at this right now. Like from a first impression, I think this is looking interesting, and I think it might be very useful. And I already shared the link also internally in the team. And from the feedback that I got right now, they like it. But I think over time, like time will tell. I think we have to use it for a bit longer to also, I mean, at the end, use the features, because right now, I mean, it's a new tool. You need to get used to the features and to basically leverage from it and so on. So maybe like for the next release, this could be something like a pilot project or something like this.
Right.
Test it out.
So it seems to me that from a first look, it seems to me that always more visualizations of the same data is always helpful. And if you can volunteer to have an instance running that the CS Signal team can use over the next cycle, we could propose it like Leo says, as a pilot. And then, so I know things at community infrastructure are tight right now, so I'm not going to pretend that we could easily host this at some point in the near future. But if it turns out to be a useful tool, maybe we can explore that then after 1 or 2 release cycles and see if a team finds it helpful. But that's just on the release team side. I would be curious to see if over a more wider test perspective, let's say over from more SIGs would find having this information useful, because for us it's a particular case of just finding failing tests before the releases, but perhaps other SIGs can show more information that it's useful for them. So I'm wondering if you've chatted with other SIGs about this, and because it seems that at some point we could if we have a successful run, maybe SIG Release could at some point start looking into maybe hosting this. We are currently lacking a lot of help to run more projects, but if the community finds it helpful, we can explore it in the future, of course.
Yeah, Evan, thank you for coming and showing us and for offering to run it. That's super appreciative. Do you know, would it take a lot of effort to get the Kubernetes instance up and running again for y'all, so we can look at it with our actual live data?
I assume you mean the bug that's going on right now. Yeah, whatever it is, I'll be working on it right after I get off this call, because I think we've merged something that's gone wonky. But I'll have that fixed in probably today, and drop a note maybe in the Slack channel just to note that it's up and running and ready.
And that was this instance I just linked, right? The sippy.kades.io.
Oh no, that's the old one. Yeah, that's the
Okay.
one that's broken and we don't have access to per se ourselves. The cube-sippy dptools openshift.org one linked in the chat earlier is the one that we're running.
Okay.
Yeah. So the community-owned one, I think it would be it would require quite a bit of work to make it work again.
Is it in why is that? Is it like complex to run, or does it require a lot of infra?
It doesn't. It was pretty small thing. It was like couple cores and like tens of gigabytes of RAM or something like that. So it was fairly cheap. I think the issue is that like the CP itself evolved significantly, and we were relying on we would need to debug what exactly is happening there and fix it. And I think the newer version of CP is relying on some AWS specific things. Devan, is that true? Or
no, that is not. I don't believe so. But what we are doing is there's a big effort to just rework it to use a database. Right now, all of that is in memory, and so you only get like 2 weeks or whatever test grid has. And we're about to switch it over to use a Postgres database, which obviously does increase the complexity to maintain it a little bit. But like it's falling over at the scale OpenShift's running it. We just can't. It's just too much data. It works quite well for the Cube instance, but so it will get a little bit more complicated to run in that regard. But I mean, it is just standard Postgres and not terribly intensive. So no, nothing AWS specific. But there were a couple things that broke on that other instance, and I don't think we have a very good pipeline for publishing images and getting those changes rolled out to that instance. But it certainly could be done for sure, if that's the direction you want to go. It sounds like for now we'll just keep this one up and running. We'll keep it healthy, and as it evolves, if the Cube community elsewhere wants to take it on, that we'll get the data exported and hand it over, and maybe we can still help run that one as well. But whatever is needed, if it's useful, we'll help. Get PRs merged, get images built, anything we can do.
I mean, it sounds like the plan to if you can host it, and then we can focus on finding the exact needs of the CI signal team, and then sharing some of and then we can focus on gathering other use cases for the rest of the SIGs. Because I think we can find use from it. I don't know if that use would justify taking on the burden of running it, but if other SIGs can find it useful for visualizing their own tests, I think we might be more than justified to run it. But for that, we would ask you to share the burden of running it for 1 or 2 cycles, and then we can discuss moving it to community infra.
Certainly, we'd be happy to. And again, if anything's coming to mind, like this would be better if it did this, please reach out to us. Like we'll probably benefit from it as well, and we'll just try to get it. Hopefully, these things would help us all.
Okay, I'll take an action item, and maybe would you be willing, Leo, to discuss some plans on handing this over to your successor? Okay. So that's it.
Did you mention me? Because
I was asking if you would be willing to discuss some planning on adding some and discussing this with your successor.
Yeah, actually this week on Monday we had a pre release team retro sync, like internally, to sync before the release team retro, because we have a couple of action items, and we also discussed Zippy. So they're already aware of that. So I think, yeah, I will hand it over.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so yeah, spread the word like you're saying there, Eddie, and if you can reach to others and show them so that we can collect some more use cases, it would be great. Okay, yeah, so any other questions for Devan or about the tool?
Just a closing note, the move to that database will be able to accumulate probably months worth of data, and we're looking forward to that on our end. It can be a lot, hopefully be more helpful in that regard as well.
Yeah, I mean, and the good thing is that you would get the actual feedback from the team on this side to also help get the direction of the tool, right?
Okay, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you so much for.
Are you on the
us.
Kubernetes Slack, Devin?
Yes, I am. Yeah, D Goodwin.
Thank you. All right, so if no more questions around CP, that was the last item on the agenda. And if anyone has a last minute remark or question that you want to drop, now's the time before we wrap up the meeting.
I'm back, but I'll sing with you, Porco. Like now,
Yeah,
now this for real. Yeah.
Welcome back. All right. So with that, that's the end of our meeting, and happy to seeing you all, and thank you for coming, and see you on Slack or next week.